The Fan.
You heard the man? According to my lineup, Season 2,
Is it really?
episode number 42.
That's actually a lot. I'm surprised it's that high.
I can see it right here. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Derek Brandale, Frank the Tank, and our very own Sammy McKee. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Wherever you're watching, listening, Sportsnet 590 The Fan, Sportsnet's YouTube channel, Sportsnet Now, subscribing on iTunes or Spotify. We're glad you're here. Give us a rating and review. Hit the like button. We love all of that.
Send us your social insurance numbers.
Credit card.
Yeah, whatever you got.
Information. We'll try
take
our best to
checks,
sell
cash,
it. Make some money on the side.
We're doing our best out here, man. Help.
We are. Hope everybody had a safe weekend. It was an entertaining one.
Yes.
Did we not, Justin, get a look into the crystal ball at maybe Tampa Bay, Toronto, round 2 out of what we saw on the weekend?
Yeah, definitely. It was exciting to see a team. I would say the contrast from the San Jose Wednesday night game or whatever night of the week it was to Saturday was really satisfying to see a good team toe-to-toe. I thought both teams played pretty good. Good game.
It was. And again, for just the thought of if I told you way back when no Morgan Riley or Jake Muzzin on the blue line.
Or Brody, yeah.
To Brody. It's almost the forgotten guy.
I know. He's back
right?
now. He's skating, though.
But to tell you that 25 games into the season, we'd be watching Tampa Bay and Toronto in Tampa Bay and the Leafs holding their own, I don't think we would have thought that would have been possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. It's like they've evolved to a team that you trust to play defensively, to hang with the good teams, to do the right thing. So different look at it for sure. I'm surprised that we saw, Mac Hollowell for the 5th game. They got Connor Timmins waiting in the wings. And, I think they've had success with their lineup and didn't want to tinker with it too much. The Big Mac.
Sammy, are you okay with everything, or is there just a part of you that goes, okay, but, and here's the but, 6 straight overtime game losses.
How can that be?
Not with the skill that they have. Those points that they've given up in the first third of the season that you will not get back when it's all said and done. Is that any part of you scratching your head yet again?
They don't have 3-on-3 in the playoffs.
Actually, it's a good point. That's a bright spot.
So that's good.
That is really good.
They have the most OT losses in the league, boys.
Boys, I said it after they lost that game that we went to against the Isles. It's just, at this point, it's full on yips.
Is it just
yips?
It's yips.
I love the yips assessment. It's not.
And you know how I feel about the pond hockey point. But
you think it's ridiculous?
Well, I just think it's goofy right now to promote something that you would laugh right out of your most important time of the year in the playoffs. Like, you would never, ever, ever think that this would be a good alternative to end a game in the Stanley Cup playoffs. We're all in agreement on that, correct?
Yeah.
So why do we need it over 82 games?
Because people pay their money and they want to go home with a decision. So no one wants to go see in the middleness.
Then can we
Gray, purgatory.
I would love 3-on-3 for 10 minutes.
Wouldn't you just?
That's my dream.
Why don't we get the guys all in a circle like they start NFL games and toss a coin?
This is
and everybody gets
different.
to go home. And everybody gets to go home.
Leafs are getting tails a lot.
I was gonna say, I'd like to say that this at least involves some skill, and I don't know. Maybe the Leafs don't have the horses for this kind of match.
They've lost. So I'm looking at the standings here now, and the Leafs have played a lot of hockey. They've got 3 games. They've played 3 more games than the Bruins, and they're 4 games back of them, right? So the Bruins have 40 points. They've won 20 of their first 23 hockey games, which is just sickening. But say the Leafs had won 3 of those overtimes, they're 1 point back. I know they're 3 games, but they've played through. But, this is going to matter. And we talked about it before the show.
Now that it's getting ridiculous, it's going to matter. It's real points now. If you're 2-4 or 3-3, it's not a huge deal. If you're 0-6 or 1-6, it's a big swing.
They've left 6 points on the table here. And they...
So
Go ahead.
Let's just get it out of the way and talk about the overtime because it was 20 seconds long. Bad turnover. Murray should have it. Anything else?
No, yeah, there's a ton.
Okay.
There's a ton.
All
But
right.
before we do it, then, if we're going to, I was going to start off with an overview
Let's
of the
start
game.
with dessert.
What's that?
Let's just start with dessert and talk about it.
Let's
do
go
it.
to the 3-on-3.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to Sheldon Keefe for our first Kyper's Clipper of the week on 3-on-3.
Okay.
Well, it's important because it affects the standings, right? So, I mean, obviously we have been talking about it, working on it. This is not one we're going to overthink. I mean, obviously we can't give him the puck back, and then, I mean, we need a save there. Matt knows that, and he played a great game, so, you know, we'll let that one slide. So we're not going to overthink this one. But obviously, you know, overtime makes a difference in the standings, especially the way it's been going for us.
So he all but said, "Hey, Matt, I know you've been awesome, but that
Yeah.
goal sucked, buddy.
Yeah, he's
it
like,
just
I'm not
was
going to
a
bury you
load
here.
of garbage, Matt. You need to be perfect."
Yeah. I mean, he didn't want to make it a story about him being critical. He's like, he's been awesome. He's been awesome. But yeah, I mean, you shoot it at him and he didn't catch it.
You know what I found rather interesting in that little Kyper's Clipper?
Huh.
That he's willing to say Matt Murray's name, but he wasn't willing to say the name of the guy that can't give them the puck back guy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, who was that again?
Austin Matthews.
So
We don't want to mention that Austin by name can't give up the puck.
Right.
I mean, obviously we can't give him the puck back, and then
Who? Sheldon, who?
That's a coaching ism, isn't it? To like paper over the mistakes of guys by being like, yeah, we.
I don't know.
To we it.
I think there's a number of guys that probably their name would have come up.
You hate Matthews, eh?
No,
You-
I don't
you
hate
just want him
Matthews.
buried.
I don't hate Matthews. There just seems to be a little bit of protection on 34.
Yeah.
That's all. And that was another example of it.
And to me, as there should be.
Okay. I'm
Yeah,
not
I would-
arguing whether it should or shouldn't. I'm just,
Kipper,
I'm here all day, I guess.
Kipper, we saw the week-long referendum when he threw them under the bus. You can't say it. You can't say it. You can say it behind the door. You can come in the first thing you
say
say.
the coach can't criticize.
Yeah, first thing you say when you're behind closed doors. What the hell was that 34? You got to be way more hard on the puck. You can't go to the media and say that. Say it to him. But there was a week-long referendum on him
All right.
scolding his stars when he did it.
anyways.
So
It's a bad play. The OT in general is gross. Like Sammy made the point that you could tell they had like practiced it that week. I don't know if we ended up with a Chris Cuthbert clip, but it's like
Cuthbert, yeah, he's like, oh, they actually practiced it this time.
and they like bring it back and they like have some structure to it. And then
just-
Matthews throws that absolute pizza. It's so bad. I mean, he's back. He's skating backwards by the time the guy shoots it. He's back, but
And there are so many times that we've watched various teams where I would rather take it back in our own zone
Yeah.
than give it up. It just seems for whatever reason that the Leafs think, and maybe Matthews and Marner got busted on one, 2 weeks ago?
I don't
3
know.
weeks ago? Wasn't there an
In
overtime
It's hard
when,
to remember them all.
when Marner had a turnover?
The one where it went right up the middle. I think it was Vegas. Vegas, right?
Could be
Riley
right.
Smith. Yeah.
It just seems like there is this feel that we have to end it here.
Yeah.
And just the patience to regroup.
Yeah.
Like I hate that look, by the way.
I know.
I hate
But
it.
you're right.
When
But if you're in
when-
3-on-3,
when you gain the zone and then you see nothing and then you pull it all the way
Mhm.
back to your blue line, I think it's just a horrible look.
it is.
But I'd rather have that one than turn it over.
You're right. It's like, I agree. I don't like watching it, but this is 3-on-3. There has to be some strategy. You kind of wait for your way in. It is like a wait attack. And they're always kind of, I don't know, halfway poking, prodding.
Like even take it to a shootout.
Yeah.
I like your chances with
I don't even know if
Tavares.
they're good at shootouts. Have they got
I
there
don't
this
know.
year?
I mean,
They haven't had a shootout yet.
but like Willie and Tavares, Marner, Matthews,
Just to throw back
no
to
Kerfoot, no Kerfoot,
no Kerfoot.
no Kerfoot.
Actually-
Big Mike.
Actually, last year he scored a shootout winner for them against Washington, I want to
Kerfoot
say
did?
last year. Yeah.
What was he, the 38th shooter? What were
Yeah.
they at in the team?
Yeah. So this is going back to Mike Wilnerism. Thing he loved to say is that they could stand to be a little bit more chalant. You know, it's like that overtime was a little too nonchalant. Like
Yeah.
they think, honestly, this is what I I feel like they think they're the most skilled guys in the world, and they don't have to try that hard in 3-on-3, and it ends up in
It's
the
just
back
going
of
to
the net
come for him.
immediately.
I think that's fair.
Okay, let's go to Sheldon Keefe on 60 Minutes and where he thinks maybe this got the Leafs not the extra point.
I thought we played a good hockey game. Guys played hard. We scored good goals at key times. I thought it's difficult. Our penalty kill gives up 2 there in the third period, but I thought penalty killing was outstanding all game. They get one right at the tail end of a 4-on-3, and then because we take too many penalties, especially those back-to-back to start the third, our penalty killers are exhausted, and in the last few seconds there we have to use guys that we normally wouldn't use, and that one ends up costing us. But aside from the penalties that we took, I thought guys played a good hockey game, gave us a chance to win on the road, and the bounce back with a huge power play goal to ensure us to get a point. That's big. So it was a good effort from our team.
The athletes.
So it was the Kucherov goal he's talking about. Holmberg got caught out there. And
no,
Engvall?
not
Which
the Kucherov one, the one that Colton scores at the side.
Colton, that's right.
And there's Hollowell, Holmberg, Engvall out
All
there.
caught either in the middle or on the other side of the rink.
Yeah, Hollowell made the guess that the puck was going to go behind the net and kind of started a little bit of chaos. So, yeah. Who took the penalties? Was that Bunting as well? We had those Bunting stats on penalties. This guy, do we have this in here? Bunting has been on he has taken 6 more penalties than any other Toronto Maple Leaf. But he has also drawn 8 more penalties than the next highest Maple Leaf. He's involved in everything with the officials.
Yeah, but let's not forget the ask on Bunting is different from almost any other player in their lineup. He is the one guy willing to go rub his nose into someone else's business or at least get engaged in that kind of look.
Yep.
And we don't see anybody close to that that lineup. So eventually, when it's expected of you and the referees are looking for it, it's easier to pull him off the ice now.
Yeah. Yeah, he's taking more penalties. He's still drawing quite a few, but you're right. Well, when you consider that part of when he's going to do his next contract, that's part of what he's involved with. He is a S disturber. He's in the middle of things. So, yeah, I guess you kind of take the good with the bad with Bunting in that regard. Overview of the game for you. Did you like Keefe's assessment?
I thought, yes, I did.
Yeah.
I did like his assessment. I thought the guys played hard. The one thing that is been noticeable, which continues to be noticeable for me, is that they've vastly improved their play without the puck.
Yeah.
And at times, I think Saturday night, we all noticed that this game, and Sammy, you can back this up, but this is the game where you go, okay, they need Morgan Riley now.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
This is the game where you're like, boy, it would have been nice for 44 to go back out there and just skate the puck out of the zone.
Yes, that was my biggest takeaway in terms of what the Leafs struggled with in that game was their inability to break the puck, any of their defensemen. Like I thought, how many times did Mark Giordano do that move where he like flips it to center ice and kind of hopes like this
Just
guy
a
like
punt?
flip?
Yes,
Like
and you skate into it.
They must have taken. I wanted to go back and count. I don't know if there's stats for it, but there had to be at least 12 or 13 icings in this game. The amount of times the Leafs iced the puck. It was just, it felt like they had such a hard time. And that was probably Cooper telling them, saying, listen, you guys are big bodies. Go in there and lean on their D-man, make them make a decision. I don't think Hollowell was particularly good, and I think that's kind of reflecting why he's maybe out of the lineup tomorrow night. Maybe see Timmins in. But I have to say, from a Leaf fan perspective, the parallels to the last game they played in that building were stark.
Really?
Well, yeah. I mean, they go into the third period with a one-goal lead. Couple ticky-tack calls. That call on Marner off the face-off. Sure, he trips him a little
one in,
bit.
standing there.
Yes, shoots it in the net. And then it didn't cost them, but even Kerfoot took a penalty 100 feet from his own net.
Yeah.
In the offensive zone behind the net. And then they lose in overtime. It was a little bit of a bad dream game, if I'm being honest. Like, it felt like I was reliving a really painful moment. You guys didn't feel that at all?
Yeah, no. I
did. I had the Kucherov thing in particular.
But from beginning to end, you're right. It had that kind of playoff kind of feel.
where all these moments were amplified, it felt like. Like everything just felt like you're noticing these moments way more in this kind of game than you are, like Bourne said, in Wednesday against the Sharks.
Yeah, you're picking apart the little details because they come back to matter, right?
Exactly.
Justin Hall played 26 minutes, team high on the Leafs, and was on the ice killing penalties for more than Pontus Holberg was on the ice in the whole game. He's on the ice for 8.5 minutes of PK time. Man, I mean, it's too much. That's too much Justin Hall. Love the guy. Not ever does. I'm a fan. That's too much Justin Hall. But what else are you going to do, I guess? Little thin.
Was there any part of you that said that the Leafs need to get somebody in that lineup a little bigger, a little heavier at all? That's the only thing that I saw that I would watch and think. And again, I'm saying, can the Leafs play this team 7 times and think that this time they're going to come out on top?
Yeah.
That's the only thing. And now I'm watching Maroon, Belmore, and Corey Perry. I thought they had a pretty good game.
Yeah.
And I thought they had pucks in deep. They were able to use their size a lot.
Yeah.
And that's where I think it still tilts for me.
Killorn's big, Paul's big. You know, and even smaller guys like Point is feisty, Hagel's feisty, Sorelli's feisty.
Aston Reese didn't give him a presence on the bottom like you would have hoped. And I don't know if the Leafs are ready physically to play that team again for 7.
Yeah.
Is there 1 or 2 different bodies they still need there that would help you convince you that they can physically go against this team?
I think so. I think so. Sammy, I don't know about you.
That's the one thing that I noticed.
To me, like during the broadcast again, Cece and Simmer were talking about how incredibly close that playoff series was last year. Remember, it was the shots were one off, the scoring chances were one off,
7 games
the
was
goals,
like a hair.
the goals were one off, and I just kind of was sitting there thinking to myself, watching the game, that it's going to be these 2 teams in the playoffs. It's going to be like that where it comes down to one bad call, one bounce off somebody's ass into the net in overtime, and it's just going to be the exact same thing.
I don't want it to come down to one bounce. I want to try to give myself a chance.
Can you win a series 4-1? Like this
there's
is the
just
thing
no
with all
chance
these
they're
series.
beating this. There's just no chance they're beating this team in less than 5 games or 6 games.
I don't know. There was a moment in that series, maybe it was in Game 5 when they won, where it felt like Tampa can't go anymore. Do you remember like the injuries felt like they were mounting for Tampa? They were at the end of these long playoff runs, and I remember people talking about the difference.
Laboring by then?
Yes, he was. And it was like, I think it's just too much for this Tampa team. I just don't think they and all of a sudden it's 2 months later than the Cup final. But I can see you getting to that point again, and you don't have to play 7 games. You don't even have to play 6. So yes, Kipper, to your point, are there additions you can make to stop it before it gets there? And I think there are some of the rumors, about what the type of things the Leafs are looking for. That sounds like a bit of a grumpy guy would be good. They'd like someone with a...
And the one thing I thought the Leafs might have been able to kind of correct at the beginning of the year is that feel like they just know who their 4th line was going to be.
Yeah.
And that you can groom them through the months of November, December, January, and really gear them up to have this great role in the playoffs. And yet now we're like looking and we don't know. They play in Dallas tomorrow, and we think like the 4th line could look something like
Dollar if you say it.
Reese,
say it.
Holmberg,
Say it.
and Semyon Arguchintsev.
Pretty good.
Not so bad.
Yeah,
I can't say
there's
it,
an
so.
N in there, Arguchintsev.
But from here on in, it's SDA.
Yeah, like a contract, henceforth SDA.
Okay, pronounce it, please.
Semyon Arguchintsev. And I'm sure his parents would be offended by how I just said it, but I think that's how we're saying it.
And we expect him to
And
be
these here.
in the lineup on the 4th line, trying to establish a new look for the Leafs.
Yes. So reviews of this kid are glowing from the Marlies.
Great skater.
Great skill, more skilled than Mulligan and Robertson.
Yes.
I believe the phrase was like trying to pin a fish down in the corner when he has it. But it's in the past, he hadn't been competitive in the way that you need to be when you're small or
How
track
small?
and defend.
Very small.
How small?
He's competitive now. He's working hard.
Like play handball against the curb?
I think he's 168 pounds or so. I don't know.
5'8"?
9.
5'9"?
He is listed on Hockey DB, which is one of my favorite websites, at 5'10",
Okay.
173.
Okay.
All right.
So 5'9",
Generous.
160.
So, a more skilled Malgin?
Yeah, like can do, you know, the way that Robbie Schrempf, do you remember him? Like
Sure.
couldn't play in the league, but was clearly just like absurdly talented. He's absurdly talented like that. Like can do unbelievable things with the puck. But this year has been consistent and tracking back and forechecking and doing those sort of things. So give him a chance.
Is this like a 2022 typical fourth line guy who just has to sit there until he gets his chance to be a top 6 guy?
This is the question.
Does he
right?
think he's a top 6 guy playing now on the
Not-
fourth line?
Well, that's the thing. Yeah. Right. He's not going to be a fourth line guy at that size and skill set. That's not, him and Robertson played together in Peterborough, top power play unit, familiar with one another. I just, Kipper, you talked about the fourth line and identity and you knowing what they are going into it. Like we're doing that thing again where it's like, maybe they're going to have a small skilled fourth line. And that's the idea. I just think it is experimenting time in the season, mid-20s or whatever it is, game 26. But boy.
Bingo. To
Yeah.
me, that's what this is. They've made enough headway here now in the last month of November where they won pretty much they had 25 of 30 possible points in November, that they have enough breathing room here now, I feel like, to give a couple more guys a try. For
Couple
March,
of carrots, right?
just to see what they're doing and then kind of assess. Listen, this isn't their bottom 6 are going into the playoffs with. I really don't believe that.
I don't either.
I think there's a chance this kid, they think, can he pass the other small guys we have? If we're going to have a small skilled guys,
Yeah,
can he be
but
the one?
They want sample sizes to know if and when they draw on him again, they want to know what they're working with. This is the start of that.
This is the thing, though. So then, how do you find out? Because they're the fourth line as it currently is. Like, they're going to play, 8 minutes and then expected to go do skilly things. I think it's so much easier to be called up as a third or fourth line guy where if you pump it in deep and get after and forecheck and go sit down, the coach goes, I liked him tonight. Holmberg, for example. What have the expectations been for him? No one's gone, oh, what does he do with the puck? But for this kid, he's going to play a few minutes and he has to do something. It's a hard role to come in and look good, I guess is my point.
We got a great show here in about 25 minutes. We're going to welcome in Shane O'Brien. He is, of course, of Missin' Curfew podcast, former NHLer. We'll get his thoughts on the Leafs and other things around the league. Adam Oates will be joining us in the second hour, former NHLer, and one-time consecutive streak man. How many games, Sammy?
I think 20 and 22 or 21, I want to say, that he has. I'm looking at it right now. He's got a 21 gamer and a 20 gamer in his career.
That's nice.
9 players have streaks of 20 games or more going back 30 years. Just 9 players.
So
Oates has 2 of them.
he will know exactly what Mitch Marner's going through. Of course, Saturday night didn't take Mitch Marner long to stand on his own. Above my hero, Daryl Sittler, above Ed Olchuk. Let's go to Sheldon Keefe on Marner.
Yeah, it was, and it just how the goal materialized too. He you could almost see him computing it in his mind before it happened, where he sensed that their guy was maybe in a little bit of trouble, and he got a little bit of luck, a little bit of help from the referee there, but he felt that he could put a little pressure there and create a turnover, and it's exactly what happened. And then to see him get rewarded and secure the record and all that kind of stuff, it's great to see. Very well deserved. He was excellent again tonight, and no coincidence that that he's in the box when they score. They finally get their first power play goal for us.
That's a heck of a goal. Kampf makes a nice play too, doesn't he?
He did. But Marner to get the initial puck and beats the goalie there and makes that play. I know if it was the Leafs on the other side of that, we'd be burying Sergachev. I don't know. Their team
He had a rough night, eh?
Their team was a bit of a tire fire down there. But, Yeah, great play by Kampf. Marner shooting the puck. He's got a bunch of goals now in this stretch, too, which is nice. 9 goals, 17 assists over his 19-game streak.
Yeah. You're going to accuse me of jinxing this or not, but I think this has some legs to really run.
I do, too.
I think if I was a betting man,
Yeah.
which I'm not yet, but maybe one day.
But you can play on an app for free without money called Next. Download it in the App Store. Kyper owns the product, but it's amazing. Check it out.
All right. We'll get into that some other time. But I do believe that, with the threat of their power play and the way he's playing right now, that there's a chance that this thing could go a lot deeper.
It's just particularly for me, it's guys with vision. That was actually, I sent you guys the list of the 9 guys who have the long streak. It's a lot of guys who are setup men. A lot of guys who are, involved in getting the puck, distributing the puck. And for me with Marner, who's he going to play against where he doesn't get the puck to some good shooters, some guys like John Tavares? He's just around it all the time. He certainly has you would have to be unlucky, it feels like, for him not to get points. So yeah, I can see it. And how about tomorrow night? For the first time in NHL history, 2 people with consecutive point streaks of 18 games or more are playing each other head to head. Jason Robertson has an 18-game point streak right now.
Yeah, but he's not a Leaf.
He's not. Such a good point. But anyway.
That is that's pretty cool.
Robertson has 33 points over a streak or something.
35.
He just scores. 35. He just scores. Scores every time he's
24 goals in that, or 23 goals in that time.
Just
on fire.
Wow. Yeah.
And everyone's like, yeah, it's Dallas, though.
All right, let's get Mitch Marner on his breaking the record Saturday night.
I mean, it's cool. Like I was saying to you guys earlier this week, man. I grew up in this city. I love being a part of this team nowadays. It's special to me. It's special growing up to watch this team play hockey and now to have my name in something pretty amazing. It's it's hard to describe, but like I've been saying to you guys, man, it's not a one-man effort up there. It's 5-man. That was a great effort by Dave there on that first one there, and just trying to go out there and help this team win games. And unfortunately, we weren't able to do it tonight, but. A lot of love to my guys for helping me out achieve this accomplishment.
That was good.
Yeah, really nice.
For sure.
Very.
Did you catch the nowadays comment?
I did.
So you guys both mentioned that. What am I missing on that?
Well, now it's fun.
Okay. It wasn't earlier.
Before a days, not so much fun. Nowadays, it's fun.
Before a days. I'm putting that in my dictionary. I like that. Yeah. Nowadays things are all right.
Yeah, now it's good.
When we were 4-4-2,
people aren't killing me right now. It's fun.
The before times were dark.
Nowadays.
Nowadays things are good.
Yes.
And nowadays you can have a fourth line of Semyon Argachintsev and Nick Robertson and I don't know, Sonic the Hedgehog.
Why don't we get Keefe on Murray? I want to go back to Murray a little bit because he did get clipped.
Yeah. That's something too that I don't know if we want to pair that to overtime at all, but there was 10 minutes to go in the third period where he took a bit of a ding in the old noggin. But anyway.
Okay, let's go to Kiefer.
Yeah, I thought he was great. It's a challenging night for him. Lots of tough saves, lots of special teams, and they put a lot of traffic in front of you too. So obviously he's going to want that overtime shot back, and it's he hasn't let one in like that all season. So that's a tough one to end the night for him. But he's great, and obviously a great goalie going at the other end. So it was a pretty good battle back and forth between the two of them.
That's the type of goal that we saw a lot in Ottawa last year.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the type of goal that scared the crap out of Sammy to start the season.
Although Sammy was a true believer. I'll take the brunt of I was afraid.
Oh, no, I was terrified after
Montreal. No, he was terrified too.
Okay.
The Montreal game was not good for anyone's psyche.
To start the year.
He was awful in that game.
Just haven't seen it. To Sheldon's point, I mean, maybe the first one since that.
I think
that opening
statistically
week.
it's the first bad goal, in terms of should not have gone in from there.
Now, surprise, Corey Perry buzzes by the tower and clips him.
No, it was Stamkos that did it.
Oh, no, you're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
it was,
You're right.
it was,
yeah, you're right. Yeah, that dirty bastard.
As much as
notoriously filthy Steven Stamkos.
As much as I'd love to say it was Corey Perry, it was Stamkos.
But do you think that had any type of effect on him to finish out the game?
So I'm going to say no, but I am going to say I did notice him
Shaking his
pull
head.
his head back into the turtle a
Yes.
little bit and giving the cobwebs a little dust off. So, yeah, probably didn't help his vision or anything. But
Now-
here's the thing. Everyone gives it the best goalies in the league, Shesterkin, bad goals. They happen here and there. You'd prefer they're not coming overtime against Tampa Bay on Saturday night. But
I will say this, though, that when you start getting into a playoff series and you know what the conversations are about
this guy's
crowding
a Fabergé egg.
crowding a goalie, getting him off his rhythm, bumping him a little bit. That's the one thing, the one knock on Matt Murray is that he doesn't like that stuff.
You can tell, too. He gets pissed off at guys that are floating around the front of the net quite a bit.
I'll take that, though.
Yeah.
I don't mind a guy who's
What's that?
he gets mad at people and chops them and, you know.
The question is that
Can he play through it?
can he play through it?
Yeah.
And can he maintain his focus and find a way to not, I'll say it, get hurt?
Yeah. Do you guys see the picture for celebrating Marner's 19th goal streak or whatever? Like there's the whole team gathered around
In the
Marner or
dressing
whatever.
room.
And then I don't know if you noticed, but Murray's like in the distance, just his eyes like angry and somber. Like I guess he's not happy with how the game ended, I'm presuming. But like the whole team was around him like, way to go, Mitchie.
Boy, you get a point off of the two-time Stanley Cup champions,
Yeah, on the
1
road.
year removed. And
was not
if
happy.
he's not happy because of that, then I like his competitiveness.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, you feel good that right now Samsonov's there too.
He will get bumped a lot more.
Yeah.
I think that's just you just know that's coming in the playoffs. It
Yeah.
just changes on so many levels that you can never, ever have anything in the regular season come close to what you see.
Think about
game one in
Vasilevsky, the way
playoffs.
he fights through that, right? Like he's so good. And I think because he's a big guy, and Murray's a big guy too, but differently. Murray's not thick like Vasilevsky.
So I'd be remiss if I didn't bring this up because it was a huge talking point out of that game. But thoughts on the officiating in that game on Saturday night?
Wow, like come on. When
Not
was
a
the
big
last time?
officials guy.
How many total penalties did we have there?
A lot.
Like 14?
I'm looking it up right now, but there was a lot of penalties called.
You just don't
I got it right here
see
too because
that.
I was looking up who it was
Did the
that took
Leafs
the
have
penalties at
8?
the end.
Or 7 or 8.
Three in the third, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 penalties for the Leafs.
Okay,
Yeah.
and Tampa Bay, they probably had 6 or 7.
Yeah, 6. No, Leafs had 5 power plays.
So nice of them to bring back the refs from the first round last year. To bring them back.
Just doesn't happen very often, like that type of night.
Do you think it is, you know, a big game, 2 teams, hot competitors, the refs are like hyper in tune, like a little bit too much, like they don't recognize when it's time to...
It just reminded me of last year where they called every tiny infraction for 7 straight games and then didn't call a penalty for the rest of the playoffs. It kind of just brought me back to that a little bit.
Yeah.
And after everything they called in that, the ticky-tack, everything they called, and then for them to miss the play where John Tavares turns back into Oshawa Tavares, end to end, and Victor Hedman legitimately puts his arm around him like he's his buddy at the bar and rides him into the net.
Yeah, that
what
one I
the
could
hell?
not believe that.
Yeah, he
that
literally
was,
had an arm off and it was like around his body.
And then he kicks it. I understand they can't call it, but the reason he kicked it is because he got pulled down from behind like horse collar.
and then he moved his leg and
Well, no,
kicked it while he was falling
as
back.
he was falling
Yeah.
because he was pulled, he got kicked. Anyways, it shouldn't have counted. I'm just saying, like, it's just I don't know how they don't call that. It's a massive game. It's a massive moment of the game. The puck's on his stick. He's going to end. I don't.
What an effort, eh?
Yeah.
By the way,
It's like I'm telling you, Tavares is for a guy who isn't fast. He beats more people one-on-one when he's good.
Yeah.
Sneaky.
he is really sneaky with the puck.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be Mr. Whine about the ref because I don't feel like I really do it that often.
No, you don't.
And I just thought that they were particularly sketchy on Saturday night. And no, one more thing I wanted to say about the officiating. No call for Sergachev. Oh my God, the Russian guy, the superstar on their team.
Kucherov on
on Hall. That was dirty.
Yeah, that was dirty. Yeah,
Not worthy of a call?
No question. Yeah, worthy of a call.
And then it wasn't one.
No call. But no, not worthy of anything else except a missed
Should have been
boarding call.
Could have been 5. Well, they
You know.
called it. It was a 2-minute.
What was it? What was it called?
I think it was boarding, but it could have been 5.
Was
Could have
it-
been a call.
Okay, yeah.
Anyways,
Cooch.
You thought it was suspendable?
Interference
You thought
against
it was
Justin Hall.
suspendable?
listen. This guy's got. He's not exactly like a nice guy on the ice.
Doesn't sound like anywhere.
He acts like he acts badly at all times. He's been suspended multiple times, I think. This is the type of one that the puck wasn't there. He didn't look at anybody else. He drove him into the boards from behind. It's the exact hit you're trying to get out of the game. I thought he could have got one game.
You know what? Listen to this, though. All right. First period, Mac Hollowell holding against Nikita Kucherov. Third period, Mitch Marner tripping against Nikita Kucherov. Timothy Liljegren, interference against Nikita Kucherov. There's a reason this guy is effective being that way, right? I'm not saying it's okay, but he's a little nasty. Guys don't like him. He draws penalties, and then he shoots it in the net on them. Really, really good. Third in the NHL in points right now. That guy is unbelievable.
Power rankings of guys I hate the most in the league. He's top 5, no doubt. Can't stand him.
But
Can't stand him.
this
Oh.
is Kucherov
I despise
my
that
God.
dude.
Hate him.
because
Hate
he's
him.
so damn good.
So damn good. He's dirty.
Yeah.
He's just
Yeah,
It's
so you're
like
a
the nightmare for
typical
the other side.
Toronto Maple Leaf jealous fan.
not jealous. Leafs have tons of
You
sick
want him?
players.
You want him on your team?
No, thanks. That's how much I hate him. I'll skip him in the draft.
Sam, you're the best.
I hate
mean,
his-
honestly, I love that.
I just hate his guys.
Do you want Nikita Kucherov on your team?
if
Hart
you-
Trophy winner,
if
two-time
you-
Cup champ? I
here-
don't.
Here's the other thing. Here is you try to win the division or knock out Tampa Bay or Boston. Is those star players have that?
100%.
I agree.
And Leafs don't.
You're
Yet.
bang on. No, you're bang on.
No, not yet. Ever.
I mean-
Tavares is going to do that. He's going to bury a defenseman in the boards head first.
I don't know. Can Austin, after his Rasmus Dahlin cross-check, I thought he would start.
Austin?
He hasn't
No.
yet. No, I know he hasn't yet.
Really? No.
Could they?
Mitch?
Could they learn
No.
it? Could they develop a little bit of a?
Kucherov?
FU?
Yes.
Yeah.
Stamkos? Yeah. There's a little bit in them.
I don't think they're like that's the
Okay.
thing. I want to hate him, but I can't hate him. He's just too classy. He's too good.
Pasternak,
Sorelli for sure. Nick
Marchand,
Ugh.
Marchand. He'll do it.
Yeah, I agree. And I do wonder, though, if so my own experience as a player is that as I got older, I got more comfortable being like, you know what? Like, I deserve a little more respect than that. And I would be more likely to go at a guy as I got older. You probably did too.
I figured it out like real early, I think, when I wasn't scoring goals.
That's fair. That's fair. So I wonder, though, if they're, these guys have been in the league 7 years
Okay,
now.
so who is most likely to bury somebody
No,
head
you don't
first in the
you
boards?
don't need to bury someone
I'm
head
just
first in the
comparing it
boards.
to what we saw
I
for
know.
Kucherov. Who's going to do what Kucherov did Saturday night
I think
on Hall?
the only one eligible is really Matthews because
I don't disagree.
Willie is not in his nature, and I don't think you can poke that bear enough to make it his
Yeah.
nature. Mitch is, I don't want to say he's too small because there are small,
But Mitch
nasty
doesn't-
guys, but he
that's not Mitch's
didn't
game.
didn't think that way. I could see it becoming a part of Matthews' game. We're just, can we get him there? Let's just get him in here and poke him a little bit, stir him up. I don't know.
Tavares? I'm thinking more and more that
Tavares is the closest to once in a while tangling a bit.
can you accidentally, on purpose,
Fall on a goalie in the
drive
blue
a
paint.
defenseman into the boards?
Sure. I agree that it is a missing element that the Leafs stars are not jackasses. If they were worse people, it would be better for the team.
I wish they were jackasses.
We tried our best to get Cooper to tell us that Sorelli was playing
He
Friday
did
night.
without saying it.
I knew it.
Um,
Yeah.
who's most likely on the Leafs to do it?
But
To do
Period outside of the
I guess
core?
Bunting by default.
Oh, yeah, Bunting for sure. But then who?
Sandine.
it's
That's a great
just
pick.
not
Yeah.
the way they are going to beat
I want
you.
it to be.
Let me just run through the guys
They're
who
going to
dressed
beat
the other
you
night.
on skill and speed and a power play and puck possession.
Okay, we got like a minute. Can this guy be a jerk? Zach Aston Reese,
No.
No.
Kerfoot,
Once in
No.
a while.
Marner,
No.
Simmons. Yes. Holmberg, we don't know. Matthews, we just did. Engvall,
Yes. If I worked with him.
yes. I agree with that. Bunting, we just did. Kampf, could Kampf be a jerk?
No.
Nylander, Robertson, doesn't matter. Is too small. And okay.
Wayne Simmons, I'm watching him Saturday night, and I'm like, how hard can that be where you just get called every 2 weeks to play?
So hard.
Right?
Yeah.
It's almost like I feel bad for the guy.
Yeah.
Oh, and go out there and be, intimidating and tough and chirp the other team, and then we'll see you in 2 weeks.
But also, the other part of that is that takes away your ability to chirp when you don't play, because then guys bury you, right? They're like, buddy, you're irrelevant. You haven't played since October. It really makes it hard to chirp. Anyway, we should go.
All right, let's take a quick break. Shane O'Brien from Missin' Curfew podcast. We'll get his thoughts on the Leafs on Saturday night and maybe a little bit of Vancouver struggles. That and more after the break. Watching and listening to Real Kyper and Bourne.
From the City News 680 Traffic Center.
Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
So much to get into, including in the second hour. Adam Oates will be joining us. We'll talk a little Mitch Marner, consecutive point streak.
Yeah.
Adam Oates had a couple.
Oh, yeah.
How many do you think Shane O'Brien had?
I think he probably got a 30-game point streak, would be my guess. Just a guess.
Let's ask the co-host of Missing Curfew podcast as we welcome in Shane O'Brien. I think I once had maybe 2 or 3. No, not 3. Who am I kidding? Maybe 2. How about you?
Kyper, I don't know. I guarantee you I had a few minor penalty streaks, Kyper. I bet you I had 6 or 7 games of a minor. But I don't know about points, man. Maybe 2 or 3, but a lot of nights I got a lot of minors in a row, Kyper, and I was like, when am I going to get through a game without taking one here?
Nice. Not sure how much you caught of Saturday night Leaf in Tampa Bay, but many around here thinking, they might be ready to do it all over again come April.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't catch the whole game, but I caught a bit of it. But I did catch John Cooper's comments before the game with Ron McLean and the boys. And, you know, when a guy like John Cooper notices the detail that the Leafs are playing with and the details that their star players are playing with, and he says that, you know, the way they're playing now will help them in the spring, to me, that's the ultimate compliment. So I know the game didn't go the way they did, but if a guy like John Cooper is noticing the way the Leafs are playing, more structure, better playoff hockey, that's a good sign for Leafs fans.
And do you feel any differently about their chances this year, OB? Anything about the Leafs play that you like more or less?
Bourne, I wish I did, buddy. I just had Dougie Gilmer on the podcast, my favorite Leaf of all time. And, you know, I'm from Port Hope, Ontario. I just think, you know, I don't know how their goaltending is going to be come playoff time.
Yeah.
You know, obviously their back end's dinged up right now. And then can their depth guys, you know, can they perform come playoff time? I don't know. Eventually, when you have Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner and William Nylander and John Tavares, you're going to win a round. But do I think they can win the Stanley Cup? I'm still not a believer.
You know, one of the things we were just talking about before we brought you on was that there's a little bit of an X factor that some superstars have that others don't. And that is the ability to maybe get a little dirty every once in a while. We saw Kucherov bury Justin Hall Saturday night into the boards. That led to a minor, but nothing more than that. And you look at Boston, and they've got still Brad Marchand with that element that could he do something stupid out here? And yet, you know, the Leafs don't have that. Are you a big believer now that, you know, it's not a must for one of your star players to have that edge? Or is there still a sense, OB, that, you know, it'd be awfully nice if you had that element of surprise from a superstar?
Yeah, Kyper, I still think it's important, especially, you know, in a 7-game series. You know, the Toronto Maple Leafs and Austin Matthews, he's a fabulous player. He's an unbelievable talent. You know, watching him night in, night out, and you boys especially being in Toronto, you must appreciate it even more. But come playoff time, you know, and John Tavares too, you know, he's a great player. He's an unbelievable career. But come playoff time, can he get a little dirty? Can Matthews get a little dirty? Can Mitch Marner get his nose dirty? Like, you know what it's like, Kyper? Like, when you get into playoffs, everyone's got to get out of their comfort zone. And can these star guys, can they get greasy? Can they get dirty? Like, when I saw Mitch Marner with a black guy after that Winnipeg Jets game, I was like, here we go. This is what this guy needs to look like come playoff time. Like, just you got to get out of your element and play a little bit dirtier and let the other guys know that if push comes to shove, you will do something.
You know, I was actually going to be the perfect guy to ask about this. There are a couple big hits over the last little bit. Trouba just laid out Andreas Athanasiou. And who was it? Darlene smoked Nieto. Yeah.
Nieto.
You know, and it just feels like so many guys are comfortable cutting up the middle, driving through the right up the gut of the neutral zone with their head down because people don't hit like they used to anymore. What are your thoughts on what's, you know, the big hits like this and how rare they are?
Yeah, I love seeing it. You know, I got to give that Darlene credit. He plays with an edge. I don't know if he'd play with an edge if Kyper was on the ice back in the day, but nowadays he plays with that edge, so I got to give him that. And Trouba, that's his game. I mean, he plays hard. Listen, the New York Rangers, to me, was an embarrassing effort. Losing on home ice to the Sens and then losing on home ice to the Blackhawks. For Trouba to step up and drill that guy, I think it's unbelievable. but the New York Rangers in general, they got to look in the mirror. And for me, it starts with their structure away from the puck. They got to start playing a lot better. Shesterkin bailed them out last year, and that's not happening this year.
You know, the other thing, too, is I would believe, Obi, it'd be a lot harder to have those big hits. The guys are more mobile. They move faster, quicker. I mean, even watching the Darlene hit in Buffalo, and you know what I marveled as much as the hit was his ability to match Nieto's speed with just skating backwards until he was ready. Like, to me, that stands out as much as anything else. And just how much harder it would be to time a hit like that today than even 5 or 10 years ago. And Scott Stevens was the great at kind of catching you by the element of surprise. I'm not sure Scott Stevens would have been able to skate backwards like Darlene to lay out a hit like that.
Yeah, I know. Kyper, you're 100% right. And, you know, from my era, I think of, you know, Phaneuf and maybe a Nicholas Kronwall that were so good at stepping up. And, you know, I was never a great open ice hitter, but, you know, when you come down outside the dots and you're running out of real estate, Kyper, that's the hit that I miss, right? I miss the D coming over and finishing the guy in the corner. I get it. It's no longer the way they play. But I'm with you. That Darlene open ice hit, that's just a credit to how good his feet are.
Obi, you know, you name your guys' show is Missing Curfew. And I was wondering if you think guys today go out. Do you think it happens anymore? I've seen a couple of post-Leaf games video where the guys are like, let's go have some cocktails. I'm like, does anyone still do that?
No, they play video games in the hotel.
Well, listen, I think each era goes out. I think probably in Kyper's era, guys went out more than my era, and then now people in this era probably go out less. But I'll tell you what, I make a joke about this, boys, but Mitch Marner, you know, when he got his 18-game point streak and tied Sittler and Eddie O, he comes in the dressing room and the Leafs dump water on him. Steven Stamkos gets his 1,000th point. The boys in Tampa are drinking beers and chugging beers. I'm just saying, boys, I know I'm old school, but Kyper, is there any beer in that Leafs dressing room or what? There's got to be a case of Multiplication somewhere in there.
Buddy, they don't want the calories. I'm telling you.
Keep it lean.
It's not
Nick
even
Ultras for the boys.
Forget about perception. They don't want the calories.
Jeez.
Just
Sky
listen,
vodka.
I know all that from my playing days, Kyper, but I sacrificed the food for the booze when it came to calories. I said, I'll skip the meal here tonight, boys.
I got one more for you just before we move off of Trouba and the Rangers. Just the mere fact that he was willing to go after Brady Tkachuk. And, you know, not often that you see two of the higher paid guys in the league go toe-to-toe. But just your thoughts on Trouba, again, trying to just change it up for his teammates, wake them up, do something. I didn't mind it at all.
No, Kyper, I loved it. I loved it on Brady Tkachuk's part, too. That's a kid I absolutely love, a kid that I believe, you know, that Ottawa Senators franchise can build around. I thought they would be off to a better start this year. The Talbot injury, I think, hurt them a little bit. But with Trouba, you're right. Listen, the Rangers went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. You know, they were supposed to be good again this year. For whatever reason, they don't have that get up and go. And Trouba's a leader of that team. And if you want to step up and fight the other captain, I think it's great. He always plays physical. And to me, there's not enough guys in the league that play that way anymore.
One team I wanted to ask you about while we had you is the Canucks. You know, what I don't call it a tire fire. It's not good, though, right? Like, I mean, you know, lots of talent. Contract situations are weird. Is Bo Horvath can leave? What are your thoughts on the Canucks season and kind of where they stand in terms of moving forward?
Yeah, great question. You know, obviously with Bo, he's having a great year, and you know, as ex-player, you always want to, you know, time it that you're UFA, and I'm sure him and his agent are happy. But when you look at the Canucks from a whole, and you know, poor Bruce Boudreau. You know, Bruce is such a great guy, and you know, he goes in there and turns them around last year, and then they have a tough start. But my point being is, they don't pay attention to playing defense. Like, how many times are you going to give up a 2 or 3 goal lead? And Kyper, you know this as an ex-player. Before you sit in the dressing room and you look around and say, fellas, it's just not good enough. Like, you can't blame the coaches. You can't blame the assistant coaches. It's the guys within, and they play a loose away from the puck. And then when they get up 3, they think it's cookie night, and they want to make it 6-1, and before you know it, they're down in the game. So, to me, it's a character thing. I love JT Miller. I think that's a guy you can build a team around. But for me, it's character right now in Vancouver.
We're talking to Shane O'Brien, co-host of Missing Curfew, the podcast, touching on Vancouver. Surprised to hear how Brock Besser all of a sudden is on the outside looking in here?
No, you know what, Kyper, another kid. Obviously a touchy situation with what, his dad passing away, and it was cancer in Vancouver, and I get all that, but it's bigger than just one game for Brock. Like, I talked about comfort zone with you guys earlier in the show here today. Like, that's a kid that has one of the best releases in the NHL. I don't know if I've ever seen him even get hit with a stick or a shoulder or anything. Like, you got to eventually go to the dirty areas and get out of your comfort zone and show that you care. And I don't know him personally. I don't want to attack him as a person, but as a hockey player, he just doesn't go to the dirty areas enough. And to me, he doesn't compete hard enough.
Going around the league a little bit, one of the topics of interest for us to chat about was Jordan Binnington in St. Louis and Kyper. And I know you were going to talk about it a little more later, but I wanted to get your thoughts on how you would feel seeing the opposing goalie, I don't know, constantly going at guys, jawing, chatting at the bench rather than just playing goal. What are your thoughts on Binnington's antics in St. Louis?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, throughout my career, usually it was guys like Luongo and Pecorine telling me to calm down, right? So I never played for a goalie that was like Binner. But for whatever reason, it definitely helps him come playoff time. He has a Stanley Cup ring because of it. It's a tough one for me because I love people that play with passion, but at the same time, you want your number one goalie to kind of be calm in any situation. But for Craig Berube to come out and say something, obviously Chief has seen enough. Things aren't going well. I love Binner, but it's probably time for him to just kind of concentrate on playing goal. And they got enough guys in St. Louis can fight if they have to.
Are you surprised at St. Louis's struggles, the streaks, just the mere fact that they've got some tough decisions, starting with, say, their captain on what do you do with him as he goes towards unrestricted free agency? And we're talking about Ryan O'Reilly.
Yeah, you know what, Kyper? I love Factor. I met him when he was a young kid in Colorado, and I knew he was special right when I met him. I'm not surprised. The first 3 games of the year, they started off 3-0, and I watched all 3 of them, and I was like, wow, they're lucky to win these games, and they're getting outskated. And to me, it's their foot speed. I still think they look, they're chasing the game many nights. Their back end hasn't been as good as, probably Doug Armstrong had hoped. So tough decisions moving forward. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but I will never bet against teams that have won a Stanley Cup. And with a captain like Ryan O'Reilly, they still got time to turn it around.
Last one for me, Obi. Just want to get your thoughts on how your podcast is going, how you're enjoying it. Is media life what you expected?
Yeah, you know what, boys? I think I'm working harder now than when I played, Kyper. I should have worked this hard when I was playing, Kyper. I maybe wouldn't have to have a second career, but no, it's going great. We're actually trying to pull off a men's league tournament in Vegas, March 23rd to the 26th. So it's anybody out there in Toronto, if you're looking for a nice National League men's league tournament, go to missingcurfewcup.com and check it out. It's going to be a National League weekend.
All 3 of us are coming. That's all you needed to say.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it, Kyper. Let's do it.
All right, one more for me, and that's just your biggest surprise now, almost a third into the season. Boston at 20-3 or Seattle at 15-6-3?
Oh, great question. I guess I'm going to have to go. I guess we're going to have to go Seattle for the main fact that I watched Boston play opening night against a banged-up Washington Capitals team, but the way Krejci jumped right back in, Kyper, from being out of the league for a year, I was like, wow, they got that second-line center back. So for me, I'm going to say Seattle. I love the way they play. They play up-tempo. They can score goals. They can go forward. I still believe if they want to make the playoffs, I know that's crazy with the record right now, play away from the puck, structure. I sound like that old defensive coach, but they got to play a little tighter D. But Seattle's a great story.
Wow, it sure is. Obi, thanks for doing this, man. We really appreciate it.
Anytime, fellas. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Obi.
Shane O'Brien. Great podcast, too. Missing Curfew.
Yeah. A couple of classic hockey guys.
Were you a Missing Curfew guy?
I actually was, yeah.
You were?
Yeah. But I know a make curfew.
Now is that all in your book coming out?
A little bit.
When's your book coming out?
February 14th.
February 14th.
Yeah, Down and Back, it's called.
On Valentine's Day, because it's so full of love.
Well, it's related to an important anniversary for me personally.
All right.
And it just happens
That's
to fall.
cool.
Books come out on Tuesday, so it happens to be Valentine's Day.
Okay.
But but I was more likely to make curfew and then go back out. You do the check-in, take the call if there is one, room checks or whatever, and then you go back out.
Did you ever hear that Scotty Bowman curfew trick?
No.
Where he tells the bellman, the 24-hour security bell guy at the hotel, to
I heard this, yeah.
get the guys to sign an autograph stick for him after curfew.
Yeah. And every signature on the stick is busted.
Yes. Correct.
That's incredible. I've never heard that before.
Oh, yeah.
That's amazing.
I know Lou
Smart.
Lamoriello had a lot of tricks of that, paying off the help, or whether it's loitering himself around there or someone else.
My rule of thumb is that you only break curfew with the best players on the team.
It's a great rule of thumb.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when a guy like...
There's 100%. If the whole team's there, you're fine.
Doug Gilmour, Mark Messier, Brian Leach, Rod Langway tell me it's good enough to stay out, I'm riding
why that's
coattail
smart?
over anybody in management.
You know why that's really smart, too?
If my teammate wants me to stay with them, I'm staying with them. I'm not bailing out on them at a bar.
I love the logic. You hear teams say that you can have a bad guy on your team. It's fine. You can deal with that.
Yeah.
You can't have two bad guys. And so you don't, because they feed off one another, negative energy. But I'm saying for the bad players, if they're bad players and they're negative energy, you don't want to be with those guys.
You don't even have to be a bad player. You just can't. You cannot not be the most important player. Like I'm not breaking curfew with Al May, right? Because we're both shipped.
Well, that's exactly
We're both shut down. We're both, Al was more important.
If you're low in the lineup and you're a degenerate, they'll be like, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We'll set an example here.
Exactly.
You guys mentioned Brady Tkachuk there.
Mm-hmm.
God, that performance at MSG on Friday night was spectacular.
It was really good.
HORSE for that horse of a hockey player.
He ties the game late. He fights the other team's tough captain at center ice at Madison Square Garden.
I thought of that too. MSG center ice square off.
And then
that's big league.
And then he goes in on a breakaway, just makes Panarin look like the softest dude on earth, shrugs him off and goes 5-hole, one of the best goals.
Backhand 5-hole, not even like the defending Vezina trophy winner.
Big cut in his face.
And they have to, they got to gain points now just to keep themselves.
Sens?
Yes.
I mean, with no disrespect to Ottawa, for what purpose?
You buried them, though, right?
Oh, I buried them.
Cross off?
Are they? It's too late now? It's done?
Sharpie. Done.
I don't know.
Oh, my God, you guys. Let me pull up the standings.
The only thing I can tell you is that we are in the streakiest era I've ever seen in the National Hockey League.
And they have 2 wins in a row.
If they polished off 8 to 10 in a row, would that be shocking to you in today's game?
Okay.
Yeah, maybe. Probably would be. Probably, but not really.
I am, you know what?
St. Louis
I'm going to hold off on the big black Sharpie marker X off for like a week.
Okay.
I'm going to hold off. They've won 2 in a row. Okay, so you get a little mojo going. They're 8 points out of a playoff spot.
I wouldn't say they have the hardest December schedule.
Okay.
They got the Kings tomorrow night. In Dallas Thursday. That's a tough one. Nashville, Anaheim, Montreal, Detroit, Minnesota.
Okay.
Winnipeg, Washington, Detroit again, Boston.
Okay, I'm not going to cross them off just yet, but by Christmas, I'm going to make a call.
You know who's in tough maybe for the next 5 games are Trouba's New York Rangers.
Why?
Because they've got a tough schedule coming up, which I think includes Colorado, Vegas, if I'm not mistaken. Take a quick peek.
I am.
And I think in game 4 or 5, the Toronto Maple Leafs.
They got, Blues, Golden Knights, Avalanche, Devils, Leafs.
Okay. So
better beat the Blues.
Where are you in 5 games from now for a team that has incredibly high expectations?
Yeah.
And a coach that is feeling the heat right now.
The Rangers are actually a great case study for analytics, because sometimes these teams, they're unlucky and they're actually pretty good. Okay. The Rangers are okay by the numbers.
No, I'll tell you, they're better than they were last year things like puck possession, shot attempts.
They're very good defensively, according to...
Their numbers are good.
Yeah.
They're not as successful as last year. Why? One player.
Goaltender.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shesterkin looks down to earth.
And he's like a 913 or something. I actually don't know what he is, but...
No, but it just gets to
he was so
show
good
you and tell you how good he was last year, that he covered up and saved their bacon on a number of occasions.
It would bring
He's
me great
exactly
joy.
a 913.
Wow. Good guess.
Right?
It would bring me great joy if they just stunk it up. So I'm not a Rangers guy. Sorry, but yeah. They're better than this. They're better than their record right now. I expect them to start winning some matches.
Now, the other thing before we go to break is Athanasiou from Chicago had some choice words about Jacob Trouba.
I know he did.
Do you
I have them. Would you like me to read them?
Yes, I would.
The words were, he's an $8 million man with 0 goals. So he has to figure out how to do something when you're making that much. If you can't help the team, I guess you're trying to hurt guys on the other team.
Yeah, I don't think that's...
It's embarrassing.
I don't think that...
Who.
Yeah, that is just not fair of
Athanasiou.
I don't...
Yeah.
I think it's a bit of a cheap shot to him because I like Trouba. That was a marvelous hit.
Yeah.
There was no flaws in that hit. AA has just got to suck it up.
Yeah. I mean, I understand being mad at the other side or not liking the hit or whatever, but first off, I do think it was a fine hit.
And they're probably a little bit they got some PTSD from last year when he nailed Jarquera on their team last year, and remember it was like the whole stretcher situation.
There's nobody that's had better open ice hits than this guy in the last few years.
100%.
The thing is, he's like, he makes $8 million, so he's got to find something else to do. Exactly.
Well,
he did.
Yeah, and I put out a screenshot on Twitter just for myself to look at it. But you're skating in the middle
with
of the
hockey
ice
puck up the rink
with your head down. Like, do you think it's my beer league? Like, what do you think's going to happen?
And this is the thing, people don't expect to get hit anymore.
Know who's on the ice, man. Read the game sheet, pal.
I think it's such a slippery slope now for guys to comment on who they think is overpaid and underpaid. And I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah, that isn't unnecessary. Yeah.
Should we go back and take a look at your $3 million a year and find out for sure?
Estimate the value teams have gotten out of the...
don't go there. And Trouba certainly... is a guy that's probably seen more power play time on Winnipeg than he does now.
I was going to say, Adam Fox is like the best defenseman in the league. You're not going to be PP1, so...
Fox, I think, played 30 minutes.
Fox has 27 points in 26 games. Ugh.
Yeah.
He's pretty good.
He's not number one power play.
Yeah.
And don't worry about what his job's offensively.
He's got 77 shots, Trouba.
Yeah.
He's not just sitting on the bench doing nothing. I mean, he's a contributor for them.
So, I don't know. I mean, I didn't like that. I didn't like where he went.
I don't hate
Trouba.
the idea of a guy getting pounded then saying F you, I don't like that guy. But yeah, it doesn't seem, it's inaccurate to say he's not earning any.
And if I'm not mistaken, it was Jonathan Taves that jumped in there.
Yeah,
right
fought
away.
him immediately.
Which was kind of cool.
That's a big man to go after when you're not necessarily a fighter.
Taves has fought though.
He's got some edge.
I'm sure he's double digits in fights in his career.
Maybe that's the Leafs superstar with FU factor.
Third line, Jonathan Taves is your center.
You know where I said Colorado boys.
Yeah.
Could he not work for the Leafs? I mean, money, I know. I'm aware of the money thing. But, I mean, if they did a whole bunch of fancy stuff, would you want him? Expiring Taves?
Yeah,
I would never turn him down.
What if Taves is, because you said the Giroux thing, these guys will have their team over a barrel. If they're like, send us a second and Robertson, I don't know.
Can I offer you a really hardworking penalty killer that just skates around like the wind?
Is this 47? Oh.
Just skates like the wind. Flies around, boys.
And
that would free up 3.5 schmil.
Yeah, and you'll pick up the cab fare to the airport, right? Because you drive.
Yeah, I'll drive.
You'll drive Engvall.
No, I'll pay the gas. I'll drive him.
Okay.
Engvall, yeah.
All right. One guy we're not paying cab fare to is Adam Oates. We've got him after the break. That guy gets a limo for having the career that he had. Adam Oates coming up next. We'll discuss the Marner streak, one that he's seen not once but twice in his career. Adam Oates after the break. You're watching and listening to Real Kyper and Bourne.
is Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Justin Bourne, Nick Kypreos, just talking about streaks. And our next guest had not one, but two of them at over 20.
It's wild. Wild.
And he was, I think if we talk about pure passers, setup guys, and I mean, obviously Wayne's in a class on his own with a number of assists. More assists than the second guy had points.
Yeah.
Like, that's just
he has Tiger Woods stats
ridiculous.
where you're like, okay, well, there's everyone else, and then
Yes.
there's this guy.
But then when there's everyone else, when it comes to pure passers, I think of Joe Thornton and Adam Oates.
As good as it gets. You know, the list of people who have long streaks, there's some guys with great vision. Paul Stastny, one of the more recent ones. Patrick Kane, Adam Oates. Kane's on there a couple of times. Crosby, Matt Sundin.
What was Matt's at?
Matt's is the top of the list. Longest streak in the past 30 years.
Quebec.
30 games, 92, 93. The same year that Oates had a
It's hard to imagine that he didn't do that in the prime of his career with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and he did it in those early years in Quebec.
Hey, have you seen the pushback to us celebrating this streak at all? People, we got Oates now. We'll talk about it later. People are mad because it's Toronto and we're making a big deal out of it. But as you see here, it's happened 9 times in the last 30 years, so it's a big deal.
Yes. All right. As promised, Adam Oates, former NHLer, 1,079 assists. That is incredible, including many when it came to your consecutive streaks of not once but twice, 20 and 21 points. If I'm not mistaken, one came with St. Louis and the other one with the Washington Capitals, Oatesy?
Yeah, I think so, Kipper. Yeah. How are you doing, man?
I'm well, buddy. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Yeah. Do you remember those streaks well? Was it a big deal or was it one of those, okay?
Yes and no. It's one of those where you get to a point where, I'm on a little roll, and you're trying to act like it doesn't, you're not thinking about it, but of course you're thinking about it. But you played when I played. I think what did Gretz get? 45 or 50 or
51.
something? 51.
Yeah,
it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, we were just saying.
But you know what? What a fantastic streak for Marner, eh? Like it's awesome.
Yeah, it's been great.
People don't know. People don't know how hard it is. They don't.
I know, and I don't know. Like I think of the obstacles that you guys would have had to put these type of streaks together in our era, and how everything's been skewed towards opening up the game and allowing guys more opportunities, picking their face off in the offensive zone, no changing the D off of icing. I mean, should there not be more superstars doing this?
Well, you know what? I would say that one of the things that comes into play is schedule.
Yeah.
You know what? Like depending on where you are and how much you have to travel and at that particular time. And I would say that one of the things that definitely in my generation is you're going along and you're on a little roll, and all of a sudden one night you break your thumb. And because to me the biggest difference in the game that I see today on a daily basis is way less slashing. And I think for the better, for sure. I've always I have no problem with contact. Obviously, you don't want dirty, but the amount of slashing that is now not in the game really helps guys. It does, and it's a part of the violence that's out, which I like. But just schedule-wise, right? It's tough, man. Like you might play 4 and 6 and travel 2 of them, and it's not. You don't always have the A game, so to put a streak together, you definitely, he plays with great players. That helps, of course. You're a team that likes to score. That helps. You got a great power play. That helps. But still, you got to do it on a night-to-night basis. And that's, you know what, obviously it doesn't get done much. So it's fantastic.
One of these things that's so impressive and challenging is like if you're a setup guy, you're relying on your teammates to put the puck away. And Mitch Marner has been really gracious in deflecting to his teammates, putting away chances along the way. Did you have any years of your career where you're like, man, I made more plays this year than I did that year or that year, but I didn't get as many points because your teammates just aren't able to finish at the same rate?
I mean, yes, of course. It's always their fault.
Yes, that's right.
But no, you know what? Like, he plays right now. He plays with the MVP of the league, right? And I've said this. If you listen to any time I ever speak about the goal scorers, the number one thing that they don't get credit for is their brain. Because Austin Matthews has to know when to get open. Mitch Marner can get him the puck, but there's a timing involved. Yes, he's a great shooter, no question. He is. But I think his greatest skill is his brain. I think I play with Brett Hull, I play with Cam Neely. Their best skills were their brains. They knew when to time to be open, and that's the hard part. And then you got to be able to shoot it. And, you know, I would say the one great thing is Mitch Marner knows how to pass the puck correctly. He puts it at the right pace, at the right speed, at the right time. So that's why it's a great chemistry.
When it comes to just that chemistry, and we've seen now Marner more than ever jump on and off with Tavares and Matthews. You had few locks like Holly, but is it now that his game is at the point where it really doesn't matter? I mean, this guy is gonna rise to the occasion, and he's gonna pull players up with him. Is that where he is at this point, where it doesn't matter if it is Tavares or Matthews?
Yes, I would agree with that, Kipper, no question. And I'll give you a great example, and that's Patrick Kane.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what, he produces, right?
Right.
And obviously they don't have the same studs they had a few years ago, and he still figures out a way to produce. And when you watch, I would say one of the greatest compliments for a player is when you watch guys get the puck, they're looking to give it to Mitch. Why? Well, because they know something good's going to happen. And that is the ultimate compliment, right? And you see that with a few guys. You know, you see everybody's looking for Panarin. Why? Well, because if you give it to him, you're going to get it back. Same with Kuch, right? Like Kucherov. It's and all the great ones, you know, Connor, Leon, like they play together. It's fantastic to watch them on a night-to-night basis. And you guys are lucky. You got some stars on your team that are fun to watch, right? And then every single night something could happen. That's a lot of fun.
It is. It's very fun. One of the things we see Marner do, and it's something I was hoping to get to ask you about here, is, you know, the guys that go heel to heel now, that 10-2 sort of way that Marner can maneuver around the offense. You know, we see that more and more. I know you teach skills. How much of a part is skating now in creating offense? I don't know if that's changed over the years or if that's just the way it's always been.
I would say, honestly, like we do work on that. Me and my coaches, we work on skating, but we work on it the way you just explained it, right? So Marner has the capability, like so the best way I can explain it is range. His range on his backhand is equal to his forehand. So, you know, Crosby has that, right? Like, like when you watch a player that can go both directions equally with a full range, so then they can run their routes better. Their vision is better. They see more. Why? Well, if a guy's just as good on his backhand as his forehand, he's going to be able to see everything on his backhand. He's going to be able to escape on his backhand. So that puts in a whole new set of variables that happens in a guy's game shift after shift. And Marner, and I would tell you this, that most small guys in our league, Johnny Gaudreau, Kuch, Panarin, some of the guys, that is their greatest gift. Erik Karlsson. Well, because they weren't physical big guys, they had to learn how to do that to keep surviving. And obviously he's fantastic at it.
No question, the expectations from guys like you and Brett Hull were to put up some big numbers, Oates. And I'm just want to talk a little bit about Austin Matthews and maybe some of the pressure he might have felt to live up to that 60-goal MVP season, and you know, even to draw it a comparable to maybe even a Brett Hull type, when just people expect big numbers. And then what would that have done to you and the pressure on you to help him fulfill those huge expectations? My question to you is it possible that Austin Matthews can score 35 or 40 goals this season and it still be a success?
No.
Wow.
I mean, I think that's too drastic a difference.
Okay.
And he's not going to score that little.
50.
I mean, do you expect good numbers? Yes. Now, in answer to your question about the pressure, oh yeah, and obviously he's in a very difficult market. The good news is he's playing with great players. They have a great power play, so I don't see that happening, barring an injury. So, but you can't be that drastic. You know, you every single guy wants to live up to a certain production. You played with Mets, right? So like every single night, Mets wanted to do it too, right? I played against you guys, and every night, you know, he brought it no matter what. And I would say, you know, when it comes to Hully won MVP of the league. He scored 86 goals. And the next year, we added Brendan Shanahan, who was a goal scorer. And that was also a Canada Cup year. So Brian Sutter had gone and been assistant coach. So when he came back, he tweaked our systems. And that affected Hully out of the gate. And so a lot of little variables like, you know, ice time responsibilities, having another good goal scorer, and dual different systems. We didn't get as many power plays. So the first month of the season was a bit of a struggle. And being the MVP, like, no question he felt it. So in answer to your question, for sure, you wear that on your shoulders every night.
You were one of the best passers in the history of the game. I don't think at times too often that pressure would have forced you to make a pass that you didn't really like to make, but others would. And I think at times I've even watched Morgan Rielly try to look for Matthews even on the power play, and maybe it's not there or he's forcing it, but the pressure, I think, for others to get these guys the puck was that the case? Did you ever see that outside of the pressure that you put upon yourself to put the perfect pass on Hully's stick? Were there others out there where you just say, hey, it's not there?
No question. I think that comes to the territory. There's an underlying pressure to give certain guys the puck. And that's where, you know, like good coaching comes into play in the sense that, okay, yes, he's going to get his shot. You want to try and make the right play at the right time. And yes, if he's open, he wants it. So let's make sure we know when he is open and when he's not open. And that's, you know, and I would say I was guilty of that, of course. You know, you want to get Hully the puck. And maybe there's times I should have shot when I didn't. So I don't think anybody's perfect on that, but very good point.
Is that, you know, I wonder about that on the power play in general, because like Mitch Marner is such a great offensive producer, but he went 100 games without a power play goal at one point. This year he was 25 games without a power play goal. He scores last night and gets, or on Saturday night and gets his first one. When you're a passer and people think of you as a passer, I wonder how hard it is to like remind yourself that you can shoot and you can do those things. Is that something you had to do consciously?
Yeah, no question.
Yeah.
Very hard, actually. Very hard. And, you know, part of it is I know that if I can get Hully the puck right now, he's got a better chance of scoring as opposed to me just turning and trying to shoot it on a goalie who's facing me.
Right.
Right. Where if I can get the goalie to move and get it to Hully, that's a way better opportunity. So that's sort of the way guys think about it. But to your point, no question. You know, like when I coached the Caps, my first meeting with Ovi was, you're going to get a lot of shots, but the power play is not about you. Mm-hmm. It's about us. You're still going to be the guy that gets the most, but to your point, I need the other guys to be able to, if it's open, they got to see it too. They're not just looking for you.
Oh, see, 20 years ago, would it have been more acceptable that, hey, this guy's a disher, this guy's a playmaker? I mean, do you recall working on your shot, or were you always like, I'm the setup guy? And today, you know, would a guy that's known for being a passer spend a lot more time on his shot today than some guys would have 20 years ago?
Yeah, I think you're right. I do.
Did you work on your shot thinking that you needed to?
Not nearly enough. But to your point, for sure, yeah. And the funny thing is, the goaltending's so good now that you still need those opportunities. And you know, like you want to make the right decision at the right time. And so when you think of like offense, obviously power play is number one. Number two is entering the zone. Do you enter the zone with numbers? Because that's an odd man situation. And then 5-on-5 hockey is very difficult, right? You got to create these little mini 2-on-1s, openings, rebounds. How do you go to the net? So for me, it's volume of shots. It's not working on your shot. And obviously there are a few guys in the league that have a special shot. Yeah, that's their number one weapon. But still, it's volume of shots. You need lots of shots. And those guys get them, don't they?
Oh yeah. You know, thinking about what you do, it's got to be challenging to take great players and teach them. Is it a weird place to be in, or do you find guys very receptive? Do you find you're able to make gains? It's a fascinating thing to those of us who never had those God-given skills to contemplate that Tiger Woods had a swing coach. You know, is that a tough spot to make gains?
You know what? No. These guys are elite, right? And the elite want more. They want more. Give me 1% more. Look at Tom Brady. He wants to play. Look at Chara. He wants to play. Yager. Like, we want more, right? We want one more. And you know what? The great ones do. That's one of the reasons they're great to begin with. Growing up, they had skills that they developed, but they've always been able to rise and keep it going. So to me, the guys that I work with, it's always they're very dedicated. They don't get to this point and all of a sudden relax. No, they want more, and that's very challenging for me, and I enjoy that.
We're talking to Adam Oates, NHL great and president of Oates Sports Group. So, Oatesy, let me get this straight. Then you're perfectly fine with the iPads on the bench and after the shift, bearing their heads right into that.
Ooh. That's a different question.
Yeah.
That's a different question.
Because there's a part of me that I don't like it, but I'd love to get your thoughts.
I'm the same as you. I'm 50-50, where, for example, if I was on the power play and Chris Chelios stopped me, and I could go to the bench and on a commercial, I could look at it and I could realize, oh my, I had way more time than I thought. I think that would help me. But to do it just for the sake of doing it, I think that's a waste of time and it's grandstanding.
Yeah.
But if there's strategic things, like let's say we blow a face-off and they score a goal, and all of a sudden you can correct that on the bench with a little reminder on an assignment. I think it's productive as long as it's done right. It's information, right?
Yeah.
If it's done right.
What's hard is like watching the game is information too. I just
think it disconnects. Disconnects you from what's going on in the present. And, you know, we're also talking about a play much like a snowflake. There's no two plays that ever are the same.
That's why I like it for special teams. There's patterns on special teams.
And, you know, just to your point, you know, do you need to physically see it on a video that you had more time? Like, you got 4 coaches there, and, you know, can someone not see that you had way more time and just share it with you? I just think I love players wanting to get better, and they're like sponges. But, you know, I think once you come off the bench, there's teammates there, there's coaches there. It just disconnects you a little bit more from being on a team instead of, you know, focusing on your individual play. That's my only point.
I agree with you. I think that, like I said, it's got to be very selective, because I also think it's got a fakeness to it, because you're not really digesting some of that information. But you also look at this generation. Everybody walks around with their cell phones, buried their head in their cell phone nowadays, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Hold on, I got to take a call.
People are driving, looking at their phone. Like, people are crossing crosswalks, looking at their phone. I mean, it is a bit of this generation. So these guys are used to it, which obviously for you and me, that's irritating. But I do, like I said, once in a blue moon, if I was coming off and I thought something and I wanted to look at it real quick, if I couldn't, like if I said, hey, Kyper, did you see that play? No, I missed it. All right, then I might want to look. But if I said, hey, were you open? Yes, I was. You were? Oh, man, I didn't see it, man.
Yeah.
You know, so if it's done correctly, I think it's okay. If we're just doing it on autopilot, and because obviously we all know some guy's going to make a mistake. He's going to look at that and make the same mistake next shift. So it's not like he's fixing anything, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So once again, if it's done correctly, I think it can be productive. But to your point, yeah, you don't want to disconnect from the game. No.
Oates, I always enjoy listening to you. I loved our times together on Hockey Night in Canada. I always caught myself going, wow, every time you spoke, felt like I learned something, and today's no different. Thanks for doing this, pal.
Hey, my pleasure. Thank you, Kyper.
Thanks, Oates.
Adam Oates, NHL great, president of Oates Sports Group. He does a ton individually, and there is that fine line. If I can recall, I don't know whether it was last year or the year before, it was Chris Kreider, and if I'm not mistaken, Zibanejad. And Zibanejad's going to the iPad and he takes it and he chucks it.
Tom Brady style.
And I just thought that was really cool.
And I think it actually happened again in a later game where they went out and scored after that. I know exactly what you're talking about. Here's my proposal to you.
Yeah.
You can look at it if the coach brings it to you and says, hey, you missed something here. Here's the play on that power play. You guys are going, you're missing the seam look. Look, every time you go to the point, there's a seam, but you can't initiate it by getting it yourself. Plus, Nylander's uploading TikToks during the game, I've noticed.
Here's what I'm proposing.
On the bench.
Here's what I'm proposing. You wait until in between periods.
No.
Okay. The game is about mistakes. Mistakes
make less
create offense. Mistakeless games are boring.
Okay. I
We
want
want-
boring if I'm a coach.
Yeah, I know. But we're in the entertainment, right?
Yeah.
And I know there's times when I'm about winning and what makes the players and the coaches successful. But I want to see players think for themselves instead of thinking that they've got the answer in a tablet.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, Sam, they can't use laser finders on the PGA Tour for distance, right?
Correct.
Like there is a history of leagues limiting technology and saying, figure it out. That's part of the game, is figuring out the opposition, finding the patterns. So there's some merit. I don't disagree with the concept. I don't know that it's changing things and that it's making teams that much better. I actually think it's probably fairly ineffective because was it you just said the snowflake thing. There's plays just don't develop the same way.
No.
You're like, oh, I missed him on that 2-on-1. Next time you get another 2-on-1 like that. Like it doesn't really happen like that.
Doesn't.
So the education can wait till after the game, and I'm not sure those guys are getting ahead anyway.
Sammy, you break the tie for us. Tablets or no tablets on the bench?
I love what you guys are saying and agree. But if I'm playing in my beer league game tonight and I go off and there's a tablet of my shift, I'm 100% watching.
Yeah, but nobody else is.
Right.
And you're also
my beer league game, of course. But if I'm in the NHL, and they have the technology.
You really want to see yourself on film?
100%. It would become habitual. It's a screen.
Here's the thing.
I'd be addicted to it, guaranteed.
You only have so many attention points to give, right, Kyper? So if you're watching the screen to evaluate your own moment, you're missing the opportunity to evaluate your teammates' moments and be the guy who says next time your teammate comes, hey, every time you take it down the right side, that D is coming across and stepping up. Like you're missing the chance to help your teammates and learn yourself.
But this is where it's all been funneled to. Like when you think about now today's player.
I hate my phone.
Do you?
I just hate that it makes me look at it.
Yeah.
When we
it's
don't
just
have the
me.
internet, it's amazing.
Maybe you don't look at it all day except on our show. It's making me feel bad now.
The thing.
Hold on for a second. I got a thought and I just want to finish it out.
Go for it.
That everything is skewed now towards like this individual stuff.
Yeah.
I would bet today's player has spent more time with individual coaches collectively than he ever has with team coaches.
Like over the course of the year or something, or even in season?
From year to year.
Yeah.
Like they've got more skating coaches and fitness coaches, and everything's geared towards their game individually.
Yeah.
And it's away from one head coach sending 20 messages. They're used to one coach for one message to you and your game, but then you've got that one head coach that has to send 20 messages, and it's less about that than it is about individual skills now today.
I actually think that this feeds into a greater point about the lack of team. Like when you thought of the New York Islanders teams that won 4 cups in a row, that was a group of people that you were like, who's on the Islanders? And you're like, oh, it's Bossy and it's, Potvin and Gillies and Bourne and all those names. But now with the salary cap, if you're good like the Lightning, the Tampa Bay Lightning of this dynasty are like 4 guys in my mind, right? It's like Hedman and Stamkos and Kucherov, Vasilevsky. It's a handful of guys. It's not a collective team because you have to ship guys out every time. Goodrow and Coleman were part of it, but we can't afford them anymore. And so it's all individualized, Kipper, the point you're making, where guys have to look out for themselves because they're expendable. They're not a part of a team anymore. Unless you're one of the great players in the league, you're not a part of the team. And that's, this Toronto Maple Leafs team is the 4 guys, Riley, not even the goalies. And if you're the other guys, you're just the other guys. And so I don't think there is this sense of team like there used to be.
And there is an emphasis still with the Leafs particularly. I know at times players got a little tired after a team practice, but they would be pushed towards the other ice at their practice facility to go and work with their skills coach. Right?
Yeah, usually they'd be broken up into groups, and so I used to make up the itinerary, and each guy would go to a collection of people for 15 minutes, and then team practice would start. And team practice might be 30 minutes, and before the ice, there's an hour or so of people jumping around. Yeah.
Practice was team practice, and then practice was over, and then we'd go for liquid lunch.
I'm not sure that was better, but the individualized stuff is not grueling or taxing so much as just an education and, reps on one specific thing. But
all right, on our YouTube channel, Sportsnet put up a question. What do you think? Tablets on the bench or no tablets on the bench? And I'm going to press no tablets on the bench. And I'm going to see 66% say yes, tablets on the bench.
Yeah.
Well, people are literally watching this on their tablet, so.
You're at a pro screen audience here.
Don't take away my tablet.
Something that Oates said that I loved was guys that play on the backhand and him talking about the range on the backhand.
Oh, God, Draisaitl.
I love backhand guys. It's just, reminds me of Sundin playing on the backhand so much.
He's such a weapon.
And Sid, obviously, on the backhand, so good. Marner, and that's something that Marner has improved, is his play on the backhand. And he talked about it with the range was an interesting way to put that.
What do you use for a curve? Do you have a backhand?
It's like a very stock.
I love a hook. Like I like good, solid, like the coffee of the Sherwood PMP coffee curve was my jam. But
so
then,
what, curve halfway through your stick?
Yeah, like just a mid curve. Actually, like a good toe on it too.
Ugh,
I really like that. But your forehand is
heel
useless.
curve.
Oh yeah, like a wedge, like a yeah. I hated that.
But I could get a backhand
most people
up.
like that. I think And
I got enough of a flat blade. To go.
So I could go
in.
directly up. Like if I could in tight, I could get under it. But like making a backhand sauce or something, I was pretty useless at.
I saw Luke Gazdick did a video.
Yeah, that was cool.
And it just showed the difference in Draisaitl's blade
and
McDavid's.
Right?
It's like they're using a different piece of machinery. It's a completely different thing.
Like, he's using a tennis racket.
The burger flipper is what he called it. It's insane.
Right. Couple of things. I know we're going to wrap up here soon. I know we brought up the Jordan Binnington, but it got to a point where his own head coach, Craig Berube, weighed in on that. Just your overall thoughts on Jordan Binnington, and then
I think he's a punk.
Berube coming in.
I think he's a punk. I do. Like, like even on my team.
He's clearly not tough enough to go around there and start picking
That's
fights.
Why it's hilarious to try to get in the lane of a Stahl brother and then just be like blown to bits. And that's kind of how it works.
I think.
No comment.
I think I'm
no comment. How is it Owen Sound guy or something?
Only championship Owen Sound's ever won was with him and Net. So nothing but good things.
What happens now is that if if he starts going to it so often, then it's a shtick.
Yeah, you like a player,
Right?
a competitive guy, but not a guy who's...
and not only a competitive guy, but it has to be sincere, and it has to come from a real place.
True anger for a reason.
Not again, like it's part of your thing now, and that's where he's at. And I'm glad Craig Berube called him out.
We have the quote, I believe. Here.
I'm sure it was already done behind the scenes, but that's next level stuff for Berube to actually say it publicly that he just needs to focus on doing his job first.
It's got to stop. It doesn't help anything.
We literally have the audio.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Well, that sounds better than me saying
there
it.
you go.
Was this a case of Jordan just getting frustrated there tonight?
Yeah, pretty much, and it's got to stop.
Would
that doesn't help anything.
Pardon me?
It doesn't help anything.
Yeah, would you like him to be more even keel on those?
Just play goal, stop the puck.
I love Craig Berube.
But that's every coach in the league who says that. Just stop it. I don't care what else. Just stop it, okay?
Doesn't strike me as the guy I'd want to have angered at me, Craig Berube. Doesn't seem like that would be a ton of fun to have him pissed off at you.
No.
Yeah. Speaking of coaches, looks like Tortorella's settling in nicely, with the Philadelphia Flyers with his... You guys ask dumb questions. Did you catch that?
I did catch it. And you know what? I thought that was stupid too.
We haven't forechecked. We haven't done anything.
But listen, if people are asking stupid questions, I'm fine with them getting called out. The question was like, to what do you ascribe the loss? You know, it was not a dumb question.
Yeah, the effort, I think. Were you okay with the effort was the last question, I think.
But the first part was like, why do you think you guys lost, or something? And then like, were you okay with the effort?
Yeah. But
are those dumb questions?
He has a way of attracting the attention, and I don't know if that takes away other attention. And to a certain extent, Philly kind of knew they weren't very good.
They did.
And when you go and get a guy like Tortorella, this is what you paid for. You paid for those theatrics of him.
Then get the out of here then.
This is what you pay for.
Yeah. And this is what happens when a GM doesn't believe or doesn't recognize that his team just needs to bottom out peacefully and, is trying to prove that the team is better than people think, right? Because Torts is a notorious wring the last drop out of every guy. He's not a go peacefully through the night, Charlie Montoya while the Jays are struggling type of manager. So they
suck.
They suck.
They suck.
They suck bad.
Yeah,
Ristolainen's having a terrible year for them.
Yeah.
Why did they sign him?
I don't know.
What was the
D'Angelo's
point?
turnover machine. Truly, though, I think it's Fletcher who thinks we're not that bad. We're closer than people think, and they're not. They're bad.
There has to be an element, though, that for Chuck Fletcher to think that I'm not allowed to be bad. I'm not allowed to send that message out. You look in the stands, it's not Philadelphia Flyer history where it's an automatic. You're going to sell out.
Right.
And there's plenty of competition with the Phillies and other dollars that are going out. And we got to look like we're in the race.
I can't. I'm just looking for the tweet right now, but it was like, you look at the teams in Philadelphia and the 76ers trade for James Harden, who's an MVP, and Trey Turner just signs with the Phillies.
$300 million?
300 schmills.
Oh, my God.
Pretty decent.
11 years, $300 million.
It's going to be, 40?
Yeah, it takes him to the age of 40. Not bad.
And is he a fast guy? He's a
nasty baseball player. He's really good. Shortstop, great hitter.
Yeah, quick,
super duper
fast.
Star. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that's the first thing to go.
Vintage 5-tool guy.
Eagles making big moves, and this offseason the Flyers go out and get Justin Braun and Nick Delorier. It's just like come into the city, they're losing that grip on people there. And
all right, on the weekend also, our Elliot Friedman reporting that Brock Besser now has him and his agent have been granted permission to shop around. I'm like, hold on for a second. You just signed this guy 3 years, almost 20 million,
plus,
almost 20 million. And now, like, you want to get rid of him?
They don't have a plan.
Not only do you, when I hear that an agent has permission to go shop around, that's when the team goes,
I don't know.
well,
maybe a
we're out of
third.
ideas.
Yeah.
We're totally out of our ideas.
We've tried nothing and we're all out of ideas.
And I'm sitting there going, you just signed him to $20 million.
You signed him. You signed Miller.
And is it really the job of the agent now to go find a deal? Isn't that what you have a general manager for, Patrick Alvin? Isn't that his job? Or how about this one? You have Cami Granado. She's an assistant general manager. You've got Emily Castonguay. She's a man. Like, where's your hockey department to go find this trade? What are you asking an agent to go out and shop?
The worst part is, how are they going to get any return for a guy like Besser? Besser, I don't know if he's 26, something like that. A guy who can shoot it in the net. And I know he can't stay healthy and all that, but they're not going to get any return, Kyper. They got the agent out shopping for deals. His underlying numbers, frankly, look terrible.
He's got 4 goals in 19 games.
He's having a bad year.
The on-top numbers don't look very good either.
So someone's going to buy him for cheap.
-13 so far.
If someone buys him at all.
And then this whole thing where
no return coming for the Canucks.
He was supposed to be a healthy scratch Saturday night.
Bad luck, man.
On a night that was very emotional for him.
How are they so oblivious?
With
the Rutherford and Boudreau disconnect all season.
So I'm not
even
sure if like there's a sense that Patrick Alvin didn't even know that Bruce Boudreau was going to scratch him.
And they must have gone to Boudreau and been like, "Hey, bud." Like, I forget where I heard this today. Damn it, I heard it somewhere too. But when all the Swedes started for the Leafs on Borje Salming's night, the Canucks played. They got a bunch of Swedes who sat in the bench. They didn't, Boudreau was kind of unaware of the meaning of that night. And I understand that's a greater thing and it's a road game, but still.
I don't know. I don't think the visiting team that has no association with Borje Salming
I just
needs
don't think
to
it's that hard
dress.
to start Elias Pettersson.
Yeah, listen.
Yeah, I know.
It's a lot less for me to worry about them starting Swedes on that type of night.
Fair enough.
But I just look at this organization and I go, it's just one disaster after another, it seems, since they've started this season.
And what's next then? It's a decade of we're pretty close, and the OEL trade, trying to get him and Garland in.
It's
now
explosion time. It's explosion.
Garland's making 5 whatever, and they're going to scratch him. I think they did scratch him the other night.
They've tried so hard to get rid of him.
Garland, yeah.
Yes.
So there's another guy you're going to get no return for because of his contract. It's just really tough.
And what are Besser's numbers?
4 goals in 19 games.
-13.
And, I mean, he is a 25, 30 goal scorer, is he not?
Yeah, I don't think he's ever scored 30 only because he gets hurt.
29, 27.
Yeah, stuff like that. It's because he gets hurt. But yeah, he's a guy whose pace is consistently that of a 30-goal guy. Besser makes $6.65 million per season.
For 2 more years.
2 more years.
Contract, man. It's a bad contract.
Yeah, I mean, not a bad buy low guy if you're looking to take a risk. Is he... you've criticized the Leafs left wing. Is this someone you want?
Thank you.
No
hard pass for the boys.
I just think I don't think he's got the wheels to kind of skate with the Leafs.
Yeah, well, certainly don't want that contract and can't have that contract. Oh,
all right. Figured out nothing. We good?
Yeah, I think
are
we have
we
to go
running out of
immediately.
time, or
We gotta go.
the band's playing? Our thanks to Shane O'Brien and Adam Oates today. We're back tomorrow. Justin Bourne, Nick Kypreos. Have a good one, everybody.
Daughter. Yeah.